You're listening to Community Radio, CKMS, Radio Waterloo, 102.7, 946 on the Rogers Digital Network. You can find us.
Good morning, Waterloo Region. It is Monday, the 3rd of August, first Monday in August. Summer is half over. In the studio today, we have Chris Sherren from Death by Design. You can listen to Chris on the Into the Void program, which is still airing on Fridays at 10 o'clock. Chris is going to be setting up in the studio. We'll have some music to play. We're going to listen to some pre-recorded Death by Design now from Maybe Music. This is Maybe Music EXP1. Nice, restful music for a Monday morning by Chris Sherren from Deaf by Design. Good morning, Chris. Welcome to CKMS Community Connections.
Good morning, Bob. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. It's been a while since you've been in the studio.
Yeah, several months,
Yeah.
many reasons, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Life, you know.
Yeah. You've been closed for guests for the most part. So you're the first guest to come back into the studio since we had the COVID closures since, the middle of March or so.
Well, I always like being the first.
We've just been listening to something called Maybe Music, EXP1, Experience One?
Experiment
number one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what that it's all about, like we were talking earlier, I'm a big fan of all sorts of music. I find the slowest of music tends to reveal things that you can't really pick up on music that's at a typical pace with BPMs and drums and all that kind of stuff. And, I'm a big fan of Mr. Brian Eno, the king of slow, I'd say. Lots of the amazing ambient experiments that he's come up with over the years. As recording processes have become cleaner and more articulate, he likes to take his time on notes and spaces, and I also like to do that too. So a lot of my music can be really in your face and fast paced at times and aggressive, and but I also like to explore the other side of things. And Maybe Music is a nod to an album done by Brian Eno and John Haskell called Possible Music Volume 1. There was no more volumes that I know of, but it was just lots of slow stuff, kind of like what you're hearing there, but different.
Yeah. It's nice, relaxing, meditative music. Aleatoric music is something that I think I've read off the back of a Brian Eno album once.
Oh, really? I've never heard that term. I like that term a lot, actually.
Aleatoric.
Yeah, and because it's music that forces you inwards, I think, is important. A lot of music grabs your attention and kind of it's consumable on a small scale and kind of comes and goes, and you lose interest very quickly. But I find the stuff that isn't quite noticeable is the stuff that's more timeless, I think. It kind of, if it forces you inwards into your mind and to sort of explore yourself, it can be more rewarding, and it's more personal that way too, because it represents something more unique to you rather than to the music.
Yeah,
but which I like to do and I like to experience.
Yeah. You have something ready to go for us?
Yeah, sure. I, because of a bunch of stuff going on in my life right now, I haven't been playing much music recently. I've been playing a lot of drums because they're cathartic and therapeutic in a more bombastic way. I haven't played more than 5 minutes of guitar in the last few months. So this is kind of nerve-wracking for me, but exciting because I find some of the most magical moments come after a bit of a break, because you've kind of lost your muscle memory a little bit of what kind of the stuff you fall to more automatically, because it doesn't feel automatic anymore. So I'm gonna do something that's kind of like, this is what I do if I'm by myself and to try and explore my mind and explore my guitar. This is the kind of stuff I would do while I'm just kind of sitting on my couch or in my basement and just sort of entertaining myself. This is kind of what I'm going to do for you right now. And hopefully it sounds nice. So it's gonna sound a little bit like Maybe Music, but with a little more attack, I guess. Yeah, a little more notes.
Working our way up to
exactly. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
Chris Sherren, Deaf by Design, live in studio.
Perfect. All right, here we go.
Phenomenal. Chris Sherren,
Thank you.
Deaf by Design, live in studio on CKMS Community Connections. So that's the kind of stuff you do when you're sitting on the couch, is it?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Is it repeatable? Is it the note for note written down, performable by other guitarists?
Maybe other guitarists, but I have a hard time repeating it. Yeah, it's typically it's jazz that way. It's not jazz, but it's jazz in the sense that it's for the moment, and the moment dies with the sound. And it's not to say that I could try and reproduce it right now, and someone who's listening might say that sounds the same as what I just heard. And for me, it wouldn't be the same because I know it's not. But yeah, it's definitely an improvisation, spur of the moment, in the moment kind of thing. So I don't know. I could plan something, and when it comes to that kind of a sound, no matter what you plan, it always comes out different anyway. So, which is part of the magic, I think.
You were making a fair number of adjustments as you were going. I kept those viewers on YouTube or watching us on YouTube lives kept seeing you duck down out of the window. What's down there?
All right. So right now on the floor, it's kind of a simple setup. I have two digital delay pedals, a DD3 and a DD6 for the pedal nerds out there, the classic Boss digital delays. I'm using a Digitech Jam Man for a looping pedal. It's got a lot of capabilities in it that I'm not utilizing there. I'm just using it for simply looping, and there's actually a reverse function on there, which you can, a simple click, the loop goes from being forwards to backwards, which I think is wonderful. A lot of people think it's a useless tool, but actually I'll demonstrate it real quick here because I think it's just so cool. So basically, like I said, just a simple reverse. So here I'm going to get rid of some of that delay so it's not so noisy. So there's just a D minor chord. So if I decide to record a loop of me playing that, so there's the loop of it. So if I go down and push my reverse button, so there we go. Now it's backwards, which I think sounds better. Anyway.
I remember making those effects by splicing tape.
Yeah, that's wild stuff. I like that. There's an anecdote, I guess, for people who love historic information about tape recording. Sid Barrett, formerly of Pink Floyd, he after he left the band, he did a couple solo albums, and Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd was producing them. And there was one song, I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it was called Octopus, but I could be completely wrong. Where Sid was trying to play a guitar solo on the finished track, and he just kept failing and failing, like all day long. He could not get a solo to work. And he looked at Dave and said, "Dave, do me a favor and just put the tape in there backwards for a minute, would you?" And he put the tape in backwards, hit record, and then he played a guitar solo on a backwards recording of the song. And then they played it backwards, and it was a perfect guitar solo. And apparently Dave Gilmour to this day is still baffled by how much someone could do that they could just listen to a song backwards for the first time and play a perfect guitar solo they couldn't get forward. And it's a wonderful guitar solo.
Yeah.
And I've stolen that idea a couple of times myself.
Have to have an ear for that.
Yeah, exactly. Or be crazy.
So we're talking about equipment.
Yeah.
You've got a nice looking guitar.
Yes, my Nighthawk.
A Nighthawk guitar.
Yeah. So this guitar, it's if you're not watching, I'll try and describe it to you. It's a honey kind of gold color, sunburst or tobacco burst, they'd call it. I've never been a big fan of the burst look when I was growing up, but as I've gotten older, I've come to really, really like this look on the guitar. It's got a tiger stripe flame top maple, which is a classic look for a guitar with a burst. And it's made by Gibson, and it's got a similar body shape to a Les Paul, not quite the same, a little pointier on the cutaway, but otherwise it looks mostly like a Les Paul, except for it's flat on top, like a Fender, like a Telecaster or a Stratocaster. And then on the pickup configuration, we got 3 pickups. On the bridge, we have a slanted humbucker, similar to the way the pickups would be on a Telecaster or a Stratocaster, except for they don't usually have humbuckers; they have single coils. Which the magic of this guitar is that it's got a tone pot. We call it a coil tap, and this, when you pull this up, it eliminates the double pickups and makes them single. So it sounds like a single coil instead of a double coil, which is awesome. And then it's got this really cool pickup on the neck called a mini humbucker, and it's just got this wonderful, wonderful dark tone that I just love. Like it's got this really warm, especially when you roll the tone down a little bit. The tone of this thing is just butter. I'm gonna play it for a sec here, but that. If you turn the tone up a bit. It's got a little bit of bite, but the bite is overcome by the warmth, which I just think is wonderful, which is unlike any guitar I've ever played before.
Sounds very electric, far more electric than say a Gretsch electric acoustic.
Yeah, definitely. I like the Gretsch is the one. That's one guitar I want to own. I've decided to stop buying guitars because I got too many of them. But a Gretsch is one of the ones that got away from me. I love that. I have an Ibanez. It sounds kind of like a Gretsch, but you know.
Yeah. And then for those on YouTube, saw you shining a little blue flashlight.
Oh, okay. This is awesome. I like these questions, Bob. All right, now where did I put my blue light device?
It's a little tiny thing that's no bigger than a little horseshoe-shaped thing, actually.
I've always thought of it as like a miniature stapler.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. A little number 10 stapler.
So this is a very simple device. The majority of this device is actually a battery compartment, just to hold a 9-volt battery.
Well, it's about the size of 2 9-volt batteries.
Exactly, yeah. So this guy here is famously known as what they call an e-bow, or electronic bow. And what this is it's an electromagnet that is built to activate a guitar string without making contact with it, right? So when you play a string with a finger or a pick, you get the pluck, automatic kind of a pluck sound to it. And that's the characteristic of what makes guitar sound like guitar, right? So I like to do a roll with the volume knob sometimes, like to give it a swell, which is part of what this thing kind of emulates. But this guy here does some really cool stuff because, again, you're not making contact with the guitar. So if I were to put this over top of a string and just leave it there, the string starts to vibrate. Making a liar of me all of a sudden. There we go. And it's so powerful that it makes the strings shake so strongly that you actually have to really turn the volume down quite a bit in the guitar, because If you don't, it just overpowers everything. That's the guitar down to like a 2. There we go. And the tone too, I always bring down because it likes a warm tone. And then with this guy here, you can manipulate the guitar in a way that so it doesn't sound like guitar. It sounds kind of like a violin or a flute or something.
So really, it's vibrating the string constantly without any decay at all.
Exactly. Yeah, you can just infinite. You go like that all day long. And it can get really ugly sounding, which I like, and it's very beautiful sounding. And it's kind of like controlled feedback, because when you have feedback on a guitar, that's all it is a string that's been shaking violently because of the sound in the room. So this is basically like controlled feedback. The only drawback is you can only play one string at a time, but you can kind of hover over them. It's pretty neat. And it's a thing too that a lot of guitar players, when they first pick it up, they fall in love with it instantly, but they're not willing to put the time in it takes to really harness the power of one of these things. And I've spent a lot of time with this. And if you listen to my music, almost every single song has EBow in it somewhere, often cleverly disguised to sound like something else, which is why I love it so much. It makes my guitar, gives my guitar the power of like a whole orchestra, essentially. So it's pretty neat. And it's got a cool blue light. So people in the audience, if they see that light, they know exactly what's going on.
Reflects nicely off the neck coil there.
Exactly.
Does it affect the coils itself at all? Is it?
Actually, the coils affect this.
Oh.
So if you see there, this is the coil I have activated, the neck, the shiny one you just described. Yeah. So if I'm back here, the string's vibrating, but not nearly as much. Now, as I get closer to the pickup, so the magnets in the pickup react with the magnets in the electromagnet. And then to get your drive, then I'll lean into the string a bit to make it kind of like get that real gross. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Does get a lot of volume out of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely, it really brings the, what do you call it? I forget the word, some Italian word for volume. The expression or the, anyway, I'll think of it later.
Got something else for us? Something to show off the beauty of the guitar?
Yeah, you know what? I probably do. I think I do. Let me think here for a minute. But yeah, I'll do, yes. I got something here, I think. I always have something.
Live on-air in-studio performance by Chris Sherren.
Perfect. All right.
It was. That's Chris Sherren, Deaf by Design here on CKMS Community Connections.
So
Wow.
a friend of mine and I used to spend all night eating funny fungus and making sounds like that. And we used to call it mozzarella melted cheddar metal.
Mozzarella melted cheddar metal.
Yes,
Ah.
that's what we called it on a spur of a moment, and it stuck. But, yeah.
It's not the kind of music that is likely to hit the mainstream anytime soon.
Not unless more people are eating funny fungus, which could happen.
Yeah, I enjoy it though. It's the kind of stuff that I would listen to get work done. I do computer programming, systems administration, head down work on a computer screen. And this is the kind of stuff that helps me concentrate.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's the kind of stuff I listen to when I'm doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want music that interferes, but I want music that kind of, it's not background, but it's like not foreground either. It's kind of just kind of in ground.
Yeah. And not repetitive exactly, but systematic, that you have a groove that's you're working to, that you're probably in when you're playing.
Yeah. Exactly. That's it. Even when I record songs I consider proper songs that aren't experimental or maybe songs, that's how a lot of the seeds get planted, is this kind of stuff, or just an idea spurs me, or I'll record something really simple with the intention of just doing this to it. Like I'll record something rudimentary and basic, and then and then that inspires me to add more layers on layers on layers, and then next thing you know, it's just a jumbled mess of noise that only I like, maybe.
You've got the 2 albums, EPs out.
One's a full album, one's an EP. And anybody who knows me knows I've been talking about a handful of albums, which I'm just dragging my ass on. The full-length album, which is available on CD and download, is called Forever. And it's a concept album, actually. And not to be like some sort of highbrow prog rock concept guy. I find giving myself a concept gives me something to work with. So I'm more creative and productive when I have limitations to my what I'm trying to do. And the other one isn't. It's kind of a concept, because there's a concept that runs throughout the whole record that is involved with the method of recording it and coming up with the songs, but the songs themselves aren't linked in any way. But it's called Only Listen to This Once a Day or Your Brain Might Be Destroyed.
Yes.
Which is, I like that album a lot.
It's a fear of the older generation listening to the new generation of music. Has been and probably will continue to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, rock and roll would destroy your brain, and then metal music would destroy your brain. And,
exactly. And that title alone is meant to be it's a nod towards a band that had that exact reputation, right? They're from Belgium. Most people haven't heard of them because of that exact label. In 1971 or 72, when they came up with their first record, they're called Brain Ticket. And their first album was banned anywhere pretty much in the English-speaking world because of the psychedelic connotations. LSD was really popular in pop culture in the early 70s, and it had gone from being this beautiful, amazing thing from the 60s to becoming this demonic, evil thing that everybody was warning you against. And these guys made music that was clearly influenced and intended to be listened to while you're under the influence of psychedelics. So they had this album called Brain Ticket, which is, I love it. It's great. Good old krautrock. Even though it's from Belgium, it's definitely krautrock.
And neighbors.
And then they, when they released the album anywhere outside of Belgium, it had to have a warning label on it, big sticker, similar to like we have nowadays, where it says parental advisory. This is pre-parental advisory days, and a sticker that said, only listen to this music once a day or your brain will be destroyed. And I thought that was a great, it's terrible what they did to the band, because they're probably broke because of it. But I think it's hilarious in hindsight. Yeah. So I took that as an album title.
Yes. Yeah. So you don't need the sticker.
No, exactly. Exactly. It's warnings there.
Yeah. Not a great deal of vocal in the music you've been playing.
No, well, I haven't, because I'm just improvising today. I don't typically sing on top of improvisations because they're not ready for vocal melody. For me, vocal melodies and lyrics are always last, like very, very last. Okay. I've written some poetry that with the intention on having music written to it, and usually it's a miserable failure in my experience. So I have the music at hand, and then I decide where I'm going to shoehorn vocals into it. Even when I write the song, I don't even write it with the intention of ever having vocals on it. But if I listen to it and it feels like it's missing something, and vocals would be something that would fix what's missing or fill what's missing, and then I'll write some lyrics for it. And often I'll start with scat lyrics, where I'm just just making mouth noises and trying to find melodies, and then I'll go back and try and write lyrics to fit the amount of consonants and everything I need, right? But
you do a lot of post-production work on the music?
Absolutely, yeah. It's post-production, but there's also a lot of it's as it's happening production. The way there's probably a better phrase for it, but what's happening is because I write music by myself, when you hear my albums, I'm the drummer, I'm the keyboardist, I'm the singer. Like there's no guest performances. I don't reach out for anybody's help. And it's not like a pride thing. It's just, when I'm in the mood to work, I work faster than anybody I know. And anybody who's there to help me is just getting in my way. Unfortunately, it's no help. So what I'm doing when I write a song, quite frequently the roots of a song is just a little guitar lick or a bass lick. So what I'll do is I'll record the bass lick I have in mind. It's usually like somewhere between 4 bars and 12 bars. I'll record that to a click track so that it's perfectly timed, and then I can repeat it and loop it over and over and over again, knowing it's going to be in perfect time. And then I build on that. So like I have this bass lick, I'll hit repeat on it, and then I go jump on the drums and I'll start playing some drums along with it, and I'll record it. I'm not a very good drummer. Like I'm very creative, and a drummer who listens to me drum is often impressed because I do things a drummer might not do, but I'm not consistent enough to be able to record a song all the way through. So what I'll do is I'll jam the drums on top of a loop. And then once I've successfully recorded a few drum phrases that I think will fit and are in time and they sound good, I'll go back and find that phrase and then chop it and then loop it with the bass. And now I have a bass and drum loop that fits nicely. And then that's where the creation starts to happen. And then while I'm writing the musical melodic instruments on top of it, whether it's piano, guitar, combination of whatever I'm doing, I'm always tweaking and producing it and editing it as I'm going. So like I'm always applying compression and whatnot. So that the plan is that by the time I'm done recording the song's actually almost done being produced as well. And it's not because I'm trying to save time. It's just I'm a producer and a musician at the same time, and I can't separate the two.
It doesn't sound like it's a time saver. It sounds like it's a lot of extra work.
It could be. You're probably right. But for me, it's literally a labor of love, which is a phrase that didn't make much sense to me growing up until you find something that you love to labor over, and you realize that's exactly what that is, right? Yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
Time passes quickly when you're doing it.
It does, yeah. So it's easy for me to eat up a whole afternoon or a weekend or a week doing that, and that's why when we mentioned I got 2 things out for consumption, Forever and the other one, I have like way more music than you've ever heard me play for you or you've listened to that I have in the vaults ready to go that just need a little bit of tweaking before I'm happy with them. Right. Mastering mostly, because that's the final process when you want to make sure it sits well and doesn't blow the speakers up and sounds good on a pair of headphones in a car or whatever. Yeah. So
what's your studio like? Here you're in the studio at CKMS, and we've really only got one guest mic. I've brought in a couple of extra mics to pick up some ambient sound and get the guitar amped properly.
Nice.
Or the guitar amp mic'd properly.
Yeah.
But you've got a home studio. You've got a studio that you do your recording in.
Yeah. It's the size of it similar to the 2 rooms here combined. A little bit smaller than that. Typically, right now it's kind of taken apart. But typically the way my studio functions is I have a computer set up with a full MIDI controller for playing all the keyboard parts and whatnot. And I have my digital drum kit right next to the computer, and usually a stand holding about somewhere between 6 and 10 guitars that are all tuned up with new strings, ready to grab whatever inspiration kind of demands. And then opposite to all this stuff, which is that's my little recording section there, I'll have also in there till I have like egg shakers and bongos and djembes, all sorts of cool auxiliary percussion, because I love hand percussion. And then the other part of the studio, the larger part of the studio, I would consider the jam room, which is where if my friends are over and we're jamming, that's where the magic happens. But in that section there, I'll have typically 2 guitar amps, a bass amp, 3 vocal mics, a PA system, and my drum kit. And I got this beautiful red DW 7-piece drum kit that everybody loves to play. I love to play it, but everybody loves to play it. So it's inspirational to walk into it and you see that, you just want to grab sticks and bang on the thing. And I have it all mic'd up. I usually have at least 4 mics on the kit. Wow. So 2 overheads and then a snare mic and a kick drum mic. That's for jamming. If I'm recording, I have at least 8 mics on the kit. And then I have a mic on the bass amp, mic on the 2 guitar amps, and then I have a cable coming from the mixer for the vocal mics into the computer too. So for recording, we capture everything on its own track, except for the vocals. They'll be on, all 3 vocals will be on 1 track, but they're just jam vocals anyway. And so that's my studio setup. There's usually it's usually chaotic. There's lots of toys, like I have like an old Hammond organ there, and I have this really cool little organ called chord organ, which is like it works kind of like an accordion where it's got reeds and a bellows full of air, but it's motorized. So you're not actually squeezing it.
Okay.
So you just flip on a switch and then it goes. And I love to turn it on after it's been off for a while because the bellow is completely empty. And I'll just put my hand on as many keys as I can press and turn it on. And it just goes like, and as it builds up, certain reeds take less air pressure to sort of to make sound. So it'll start off with like one note that's like this, like out of tune note, 'cause it's not good enough air pressure. And then the other notes kind of come in with it and just get like this chaotic noise. It's like, it just sounds like the end of the world. I love it.
It itself is composing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I've written many things with that thing as well. So, and I love like anything, like if it makes a cool sound, I'll record it. Like I've made songs with recordings of like saw blades, and I got a children's xylophone, like those little toy ones. It's completely out of tune because kids don't care if it's a tune or not. And it sounds horribly haunting when you try and play a proper melody on it. So I use that sometimes, and whatever, like those, I got like a plastic tube that's corrugated that when you spin it at different speeds, it makes different tones. I've used that to make music. Yeah. And I'll sample things and then duplicate them and then in post-production, I'll tune them to specific notes so I can actually recreate these sounds on a keyboard and have like a full octave, so I can actually play melodies with a saw blade or a spinning hose or whatever. Yeah, whatever I have this microphone. It's with me right now, but it's like a little stereo condenser mic I carry with me everywhere I go. And I've made music out of any conceivable sound. Sometimes other people pick it out. Sometimes I hear it, but anything from a loon flying in the wilderness to the sound of rain on a tarp to a squeaky door hinge in a seedy bathroom in a crappy bar somewhere, like whatever it is. If a sound catches my ear, I'll pull this thing out and record it.
And have it in your toolkit of ambient sounds to
exactly
flesh out something that you've written.
Yeah, and that's the best thing about collecting stuff like that is that when you run out of ideas, you always have ideas waiting for you. Right. So if I have writer's block, I'll just open up the folder of sounds I haven't used yet. And the next thing you know, I'm writing a whole album based on the sound of a bird or something, like, you never know. Yeah.
Doesn't sound very portable though. All the equipment and toys and instruments and recording gear that you have doesn't sound portable. Do you do live performances?
I don't often do, when I was in a band, we would do performances quite regularly, but I don't look for enough opportunities. I do like performing live by myself. I did it once last year at, I forget the name of that thing we were doing. It was a fundraiser.
It was at Elvis Freshly. It was a fundraiser for, I think, CKMS.
Yeah, it was a fundraiser for
the
us.
March Madness fundraiser.
Yeah. There was like a name he had for it. Like something fest or like.
Good. I think it was the March Madness. Was that
okay.
particular one. We had a couple of fests afterwards, Isolation Fest and COVID Fest most recently.
Oh, yeah, right on, yeah. But, and this was put on by Dylan Brevner. I think I'm pronouncing his name properly. He's a cool dude. He works here as well, right? He's got his own show. I forget the name of it now.
He has a couple of shows.
3 Nines, right?
3 Nines is Francis Clare. Francis Clare is on the air with 3 Nines Radio.
Okay, so that's not him? Is it an alter ego?
It's an alter ego, yes. So here we are in CKMS Community Connections giving away the secrets of the station.
I'm so sorry. I don't know Dylan well enough to know that was the thing. Yeah, I knew it was him.
Dylan does a lot of production work with the 3 Nines cassette. It's a label for lots of local artists. So.
I find it fascinating. He's a very inspirational person. I think Dylan's a wonderful dude. Yeah. And if you're listening, Dylan, hello. And if you're not, well, tune in. Yeah. But
we're getting close to the top of the hour, Chris. The hour is gone, just like that.
Well, I'm sorry I played so much weird noises, or maybe I'm glad I did.
But that's what it's all about. It's all about the music. That's the reason for being here.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me, Bob. We've been talking about this for a long time, and COVID put a big dent in it. But I'm glad we're finally doing this.
Did for a bit. Got something to take us out?
Yeah, sure. I'll try and do something to take us out.
I'm going to talk over it, so this is not something for posterity.
No problem.
You've been listening to Chris Sherren, frontman for Death by Design. He's come into the studio, CKMS Community Connections. CKMS Community Connections is a production of Radio Waterloo. It's sponsored by Radio Waterloo. Executive producer is Jennifer Strong. Contributing producers are Jeff Steger, Dylan Bravener, and Jordan Dorans. Today, our guest has been Chris Sherren, who's taking us out with a bit of ambient music. My name is Bob Jonkman. See you again next Monday for CKMS Community Connections. There will be a repeat of the show on Thursday at 2 p.m. You're listening to CKMS Community Connections on Radio Waterloo.